The Broodlord hung suspended far above the heads of its chosen prey. Clinging to a fire, blasted skank of support gritter with 4 of its 6 limbs. It rotated its head, following the massive red forms of the invaders as they entered the tribune chamber. There were only 6 of them now, the other had split, forming smaller packs. Displeased the spawn of Cryptus. Divided prey was easy prey, as it had learned in its infancy down in the bowels of Fodia's substructure. It had hunted gangers and slaves in those dark, cramped tunnels, growing stronger of their flesh and fear. It had only taken what was its by right of blood, as it had when it had overseen the taking of this palace. Its palace. Its flat red eyes narrowed and its head throbbed as it reached out with its singular will and touched the distant mind of its fellow Tyranids scattered throughout the palace. It inhaled sharply, suddenly able to see everything. Through the eyes of its skin, it watched as the other armored giants made their ponderous way through the eastern sector of the palace and the western and the high gardens which marked the upper levels. It saw them all from dozens of angles, heights, and positions, and it shook itself slightly as if it fought to control the sheer flow of sensory information that flooded its mind. The Broodlord had always had the power to cloud the minds of its prey and to feel the thoughts of its children as they went about its business. But since the coming of the Leviathan, those powers had grown exponentially, so much so that their use now pained it slightly. Sending out its taunts to lance through the minds of the nearby Tyranids was akin to stretching a limb to the breaking point and holding it there until just on the cusp of agony. But where once it had only been able to influence, it can now compel. It shuddered on its perch as it felt the wet scrapping of movement from its children and their kin, who had come to Asphodex in the belly of the beast, but whose minds tasted of familiar things. Its thought pulsed outwards, spreading like ripples in a puddle, touching hundreds of bestial minds. Silently it stirred them to wakefulness, and then into a killing fury, filling their primitive skulls with its own boiling rage. The giant had come to interfere in the hive mind's plans somehow, and it would not allow that. After everything it had done, after everything it had endured, it was owed this moment. A gurgling hiss escaped it as it leapt from its perch and dropped towards the shadows below. Fodia belonged to it. The city and everything in it was its by right, and no red-shelled invader would prevent it from taking its fair due in the time Asphodex had left.